Welcome once again to The Sage, and thank you for having stayed with us. In the segment before this, we talked about the fact that these few episodes, probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, will be focusing on the urgent issue of the situation of our young people. We will not just be talking about the problems, the myriad of problems they have, but more concretely, the solutions. What do we do to make a difference? All of us. And to start the ball rolling in this discussion, it's a real privilege to say that I have two wonderful young people on the set with me today.
Now, this is not to, take away the role of parenting, because that's another key issue we have in society. So you have parents who are not present for their children. And then the children are influenced by so many things. There's so many influences everywhere, on their phones, on billboards, all over the place, their peers. There's so many influencers everywhere.
Okay, so I think I'm going to have to continue from where she stopped. She's talked about parental influence. She has spoken about social media and what have you. And in talking about social media is supposed to be an accelerator. It's supposed to be, like I said, an accelerator. It's supposed to promote stuff. So if you have a gift, for instance, I use social media to promote my gifts so that people out there can see it. But if I have,
in other words,
if I have addictions,
positive and negative.
Exactly. If I have addictions or I steal or whatever, all those things, all those negative things in me, social media would accelerate it. It will bring it out. So I'm looking for anything that would influence my addiction. I'm looking for, and I mean, we all know sex sells this day. Politics, you use sex, it will sell. You're selling a product, you use sex, it will sell, and all marketing tools out there. So these are tools that influence and affect our youth out there. And because they don't have influencers in their lives, be it spiritual leaders, be it religious leaders, be it parents, some of them come from broken families. Some of them, even if their fathers and mothers are still married, they are not there, like she said. Their presence is not, they don't have that. They don't have someone who is like an adult that would be an accountable person to them. My siblings are always accountable to me. Right now, funny enough, my mom doesn't have that hold on them again. I have that hold. I can't say at what point that shift happened, but now I can easily get to them in a way that my mother cannot. And when I call them, they don't want my mom to report them to me. So now I hold them, I hold them accountable to anything they do. But we don't have. And I mean, there are times when my brother was talking about the ritualism or what have you. My brother moved from Ogun State to Lagos State. And, Ogun State is not the average state that is as hyper as Lagos State. But he started seeing his friends who have graduated, who have their own apartments and what have you. And I saw that it was beginning to affect him. But because I have an influence over him, I had to start, even though I was in Abuja and he's in Lagos, I had to be calling him, speaking to him, you can do this. And I was not nice with my words. I was very, very firm. Why? Because I needed him to see the bigger picture. And now he's doing quite well. But unfortunately, the peer pressure has gotten so much to them that they are seeing the bigger picture, but they are seeing hush puppy kind of bigger picture. So they want the sharp Indomie kind of lifestyle, but they don't want to work for it. Because not that they don't believe in the consequences. I mean, we have lots of films
Can I ask
out
both
there.
of you? We say that they want the hush puppy, but what led to that?
Well, it's society.
Society.
I mean, it's what they see.
Yeah.
It's what they see and what they've been exposed to. That has shown that you can live that kind of a life, you can glamorize, you can be all over the place. So it's society that has done that to them. And like I said, influences are everywhere. At the click of a button. They have the influencers everywhere. But then when you realize, and that's why I'm so bent on values, because a young person who has values, no matter the age, who remembers the values that have been instilled, as Ifenla said, when that child was between 0 and 5 years old. And you teach that child and reinforce, because that child is already formed at 5. That child, the brain is formed, as psychologists say. It's formed. So everything you do after that, as Father George says, is
added.
panel beating, is reinforcement. So if we have formed the children and, we remind them all the time of the importance of living out the values, have a code at home that says, okay, these are the values of this family. These are the things that we live by. These are what we stand for.
Yeah.
And if everybody knows that, then everybody will find a way, God helping us, to get in line and keep to that, no matter what the society throws. Because we cannot control what the society throws at us, but we can control what we consume.
Exactly.
Let me play the devil's advocate.
Go ahead.
And say that yes, and yet, because it's such a complex issue, may not be as easy as that.
Absolutely.
You can teach all the values you want.
Yeah.
But when that young person is in the world trying to forge a life and finds that all he's seeing are other young people who went out, sold drugs or something, came back, are rich, and the community rewards them. Gives them chieftaincy titles, accepts their monies for building churches and mosques, gives them places of honor in ceremonies, and never asks where does the money come from. You see, because after some time, they get frustrated. They're seeing you're doing your preaching at home.
Exactly.
They read hard. They get the multiple degrees you've asked for. You ask them to do. They come out to get a job. It never happens. And it's the ones with influence, with people that know people that get it. So what I am trying to say is, while what you're saying is true, I'm not saying I'm playing that actually realities of trying to live exists in our society, which I'm sad to say is often corrupt. That makes them sometimes do what they know is ethically not wrong, because they think they're trying to survive.
You see, and honestly, as you have said, it is not easy. Not at all. Because they see other people going forward negatively, but then, they're stagnated and they're stagnant. This is where a parent should be a parent, and an adult should be an adult, and a caregiver should be a caregiver. To reinforce and guide and ensure that we still keep at it, no matter what. Because, I'm a Christian and I hold my Christian values very, very strongly, my Christian faith very strongly, knowing that a child is in my care. I am the steward of that child, and I will be held accountable for that child when the end of my life comes. So what kind of accountability am I going to give to God when, that time comes? And that's why we must remain guides to them, so that we're not, so like she mentioned something about a conflict. You're teaching a child something at home. He goes outside and he sees something else. It's for you to continue teaching that child that, see, this is how it's supposed to be. There was a time, I always tell my children about the traffic light. Okay, you don't beat traffic light, obey it. When it's red, stop, And there was a time, I was rushing off to school and I just beat the light. My son was behind, my last son. He sat behind. He didn't say anything. I think he was about 7, 8 at this time, So he didn't say anything, but after a while, he now moved, after we got away, he now said, but mommy, that light was red, right? Was that light red? I felt so much shame, and I just said, I am sorry. CJ, I am sorry. Mommy, I beat the light and I apologize. I showed you a bad example. I was a bad influence for you, and I apologize for doing that.
Which is such an important thing to do.
To apologize to your children. Very, very important. So because the children learn from our examples, and if the examples we're showing them is conflicting with what we are saying, then they will definitely go off tangent. But if we are living the life that we say we want to live and, live out that example for them, they will learn and they will keep in line. Yes, lots of people will say all kinds of things to them. They will get people yabbing them, right? And telling them all sorts of things for not, I gotta do this thing quick now. See what to do. This how you get the money. This what you do. Going to drugs, going to this, going to that. But when they remember all that you have taught, they will keep.
And the fact that if they seem to think that is how they're making their money, you won't approve.
Exactly.
Because like Ifena was saying, the problem, the way your siblings who are looking up to you know you will not approve of
Right.
any progress
Yeah.
Right.
that you think comes
Right.
from the wrong.
Right.
It's also a huge deterrent.
Exactly.
Even if I make it, even if I make tons of money,
what will I say?
what will I say?
How will I
explain to
defend
them
this?
how I made it?
And that's another thing
Yeah.
with society, because some people have accepted the children, they've accepted all the gifts that you accept. You don't ask questions, about, okay, where is this money coming from? What did you do? Where is that business that you did? I will not take this car until I know where you got this money.
Such an important demand that every family should be making to their young children.
Yeah.
But if let me put you on the spot. Let me tell you again another perspective. 3 years ago, we ran a national conference for young women. We targeted young females this time, and it was a very very successful but very painful in a way, because the amount of sheer number of young women who got up and said they felt unprotected in this society were so many. It left some of us older people with tears. They're unprotected. The female, young person in the university, whether it's favors from the lecturers, in the workplace, whether it's sexual favors before you get a job. If they're raped, they're blamed. How did you dress? What is it about you? And one of them actually got up because it was organized by some of us retired, grandmothers, professionals who wanted, it was a mentoring thing. And they said, we need people to be there for us. We need people who, when we say this is happening, will back us up. You people are not there. Many times, if we speak up about harassment, we become the guilty. We are judged, and so on and so forth. I want you to speak to that.
Okay, so this is almost like a personal one for me, because I like to tell anyone that cares to listen that I'm a feminist. Feminist in that anything that has to do with women advocacy, speaking for the rights of women values or whatever, you would always almost find me there. And it's so unfortunate that, yes, I know people are now getting into that consciousness of, yes, is it female for she for women or whatever you, and people are beginning to give women what they deserve. But I think we are not yet there at all. People don't, so it's more of an orientation thing. So coming from me, my dad taught us something. Like I said earlier, he used to raise chickens when we were young, and anytime we needed to kill a fowl, we are four, my dad would position us in a strategic place in such a way that after chasing the fowl to the back of the house, we have this like small backyard at the back of our house. He would put my immediate younger brother, who is a footballer, a goalkeeper, behind. Then position us to catch it and position all of us in front. I was always in front of him, but I always missed the foul because he knew that he would always catch it. But we always did everything together.
No wonder he became a footballer. He was catching
fouls. Of course. But we always did that together. There was nothing like, this is what a female should do. This is what a male. In fact, my dad, with all his weaknesses, it taught me family values. It taught my brothers that your sisters are eggs. You have to protect them. You have to respect them, whether she's your younger sister or your older sister. You have to respect them. So I think coming down to that, it still comes down to family values, because and it goes a long way. So there's a reverse teaching psychology to this. When men begin to advocate for women, it goes a long way. It makes men listen faster than when a woman is doing it. When a woman is doing it, they go all, now woman, they talk about woman matter. They won't want to listen. They just go, they don't come again. But when a man is doing that, they are not wired to see a man talking for a woman. They're like, you be a man now, you be a woman rapper. But by the time the man starts talking sense, they start relating, not true. So say for instance, a woman is driving and then maybe something happens, or someone is driving and then something happens and the car is in front of you and they go, a woman. But by the time your car gets there, you see that it's actually not a woman, it's actually a man. So that wiring, it's a societal thing. And for us to be able to get down to the roots, it must come down to the grassroots, which is the family structure. But then, now the other side of it is we should not be so pro-women that we now leave the boys behind.
Absolutely.
Because God forbid that we find ourselves in a generation, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to come, when it's now a circle. When it's now the boy child or the men who are now not being protected. Because we've all decided we are going to fight for the female. Of course, the women needs to be fought for. Even the Bible that says that it's unto weaker vessels. It doesn't mean that the woman is weak intellectually. It only means that the physical frame of the woman, it can be compared to the physical frame of a man.
But don't you think, I personally think that that's a large part of the problem.
Exactly.
That the woman
even
doesn't
in
take
churches,
on head on.
Right.
Because you don't have the physical strength, you know.
So even
if
in
you come
churches,
to fight fist to fist, he will beat you up.
Exactly, even in churches. But that's where it ends. It's only the biological or not the physiological framework. That's where it ends. But when it comes to strength and weakness, biologically a woman is stronger. Are we talking about the 9 months pregnancy, delivery? Because delivery alone, it's like the woman is walking through the valley of shadow of death. That's what happens. I've not given birth before, but I have.
And I have
sisters.
4 each.
Exactly. So you know how it is. You know how it is. You know how it is.
Well, I have 4.
You know how it is. So you can even say the mother, but I know you can relate. But men cannot relate. Okay, now lastly, my cousin, we were talking, a guy, he was saying, I think he had this thing that affects stomach. And
appendicitis.
Yes. And it was like, it was very painful. In fact, I can imagine how ladies feel during menstrual pain. And then I was there, his siblings were there. So we're like 4 ladies. And we looked at him, we're like, Uncle, don't even go there. Don't even think it. They're like 2 different things. Ordinary menstrual pain, excuse you. Like, we were not lashing at him. It was like, it's okay. We're like, Uncle, don't go there.
Let me tell you a similar story because it's interesting. Actually, in medicine, I'm a doctor.
Okay.
The thing that gives the greatest pain, I think we agree in medicine, is actually childbirth. Smooth muscles, when they contract, give you a great deal of pain. And therefore, when the uterus, which is a huge mass of smooth muscle, is contracting to eject that child, it's the greatest pain you can imagine.
Oh, God.
So my cousin had ureteric pain. The ureter is the gland, the tube from which the urine drains from, to the bladder. And it's also a smooth muscle. So when in ureteric colic, it contracts, So he was in pain. So when the doctor now told him that actually this is the only thing in men that can seem a bit similar to childbirth pains. He said, no, that's impossible. That's impossible. And yet, when the uterus contracts, it's 10 times more painful than the uterus, than the ureter. So the thing is, like you said, there are all kinds of strengths.
Yes.
A woman who can give birth to children. In fact, so many of us think we're mad. I remember when my second one, I wondered, you're mad. Why did you get into this? It has an amazing amount of endurance.
Absolutely.
Strength. Strength. And it goes through life. As a mother, you're enduring, you're working beyond, and so on and so forth. Even though we don't have that physical strength. And so we, as different sexes, bring a great deal to the table. And I agree with you that it often needs to be a mutual, a combined discussion where women are not just advocating for women issues, but where they are joined by their male counterparts. And permit me to be a little frivolous when I say that, is that why none of our gender bills passed?
Well, I wasn't expecting anything better. That's the truth. Well, they didn't disappoint me. Really, that's the truth. They did not. And I'm happy, although I'm not happy. I'm happy they did what they did. So now women would open up their eyes and see that these men, we need them. We need everybody.
Exactly.
But then it's further than what we are seeing. So now, as at Monday or 3 days ago, some CSOs went to the National Assembly and said, you guys are not going in. But I need our women to see that the power actually belongs to us. I belong to a political party, ADC. And as at when we came in, we had to start telling them that youth allocation, women allocation, persons with disability allocation, we have to make this a priority. And we don't just want to take pictures and you put females there just because, okay, so that
For
there
the
will be
photo
even
ops,
representation.
yeah.
No, if things need to be done, involve us. If conversations need to be done, involve us. We have brains, we have sense. We've coordinated projects. And we've done amazing things. So it shouldn't be on the political table that you then think, oh, they are youths, they're women. No, let's just leave them aside. No. And we also tell women that it's not enough for you to just see yourself as a woman leader because, okay, that slot is just for women. No, if it's a state chairman role you want to go for it. If it's a national whatever you want to go for it. Don't just put yourself in that space because everybody knows women leader, hey, it's woman. No, you can go for more. And because if we don't start having this conversation and letting women know that they can actually do more, because we know we can do more.
Yeah.
Now, this is election season. Gari, rice, spaghetti, and beans will start passing round, and it's still we women that sit and do this budget, and we go to the market to buy it for the men. So that's the funny thing. So that's why I said I'm happy, even though I'm not happy that it happened. But now we women would be able to sit up. Because the men that sat, they were women on that seat as at when it was passed. So that's how alarming it is. And it's funny that in like 4 years, our women have not really been able to do much more influence. Because I know what it's possible where just one woman is. That one woman in the midst of lots of men, she's enough to cause lots of things. That's how powerful women are.
I'm going to turn the table over to Inya and say, yes, I brought in this women issue, but we of course discussing youth in general, young men and women. But to say, before I ask you to also discuss, just to say that for me, for my many years of indeed empowering people, I'm working for an organization that is a gender-based, sort of UNFPA is. And it's such a complex issue because when we say women, the point is many times you're facing life with disadvantages
everywhere
that make it difficult for you to say women should, women shouldn't. And which society oftentimes chooses to ignore.
Exactly.
I cannot say they do not know. So for you to be a woman politician, you need to be 10 times tougher than a man. There are unfair things they ask of you. And then, are we stopping them? Let them come and compete now. They are free to join political parties.
You hear that all the time.
It is more difficult. Political parties tend to have their meetings in the
nocturnal meetings.
Yeah, why? Yeah. So they make the situation difficult for women. And I've been a woman advocate all my life too. Everywhere, professionally as well, we encountered all those. Medicine is a profession that I get angry with, that tailors everything for the man, really. To be a specialist like some of us in medicine, it's crazy. It means you can hardly do it and raise a family. All of it is injustice. But let us leave that. And then let me ask you about the male child, really. Because let me say that when we actually did that national conference for young women, we were challenged by some people who said, our young men themselves are becoming endangered.
Okay.
They are growing up in a society where they're confused.
True.
Yes.
Their fathers were masters of the house, expected meals to be served, did all kinds of things. Things are changing.
Yes.
Their mates, their spouses are outspoken, are earners, and so they're confused.
The conflict.
What do you think?
As Ifenla said, I really fear for some years down the line because we're doing a lot of empowerment for the girl child, for the woman, to ensure that the woman is, at an advantaged position. And then the men, the boys, the boy child, what exactly are we doing? I worked on radio, and this was one of the things I talked about all the time. I'm like, yes, so we have the day for the girl child, we have the day for this, we have Women's Day, we have this and that, all sorts of things for the women. But what about the boys? Where are they? Who is looking out for them? Because it's one thing for me to take care of my daughter, ensure that she's properly fit and proper, for marriage, right, in future. But then who is going to marry her? Who is taking care of that boy right now who will marry her later? who is ensuring that he is also empowered and he's thinking and he's well prepared for the task ahead. Because we focus a lot on the female. We focus so much on the girl child and then we neglect the boys. Now, these boys are the same boys who will come and marry these girls that we have properly groomed. We have properly groomed them.
Taught them to be strong.
Absolutely.
Independent.
And then
co-provider.
The boys are nowhere to be found. So it's on us, yes, as advocates at various levels to say, look, let's talk to these boys. Let's have a chat with them. Let's mentor them. So they are not on the other side while our girls are flourishing and doing great. They are not found in prisons. They are not found doing yahoo.
Yeah.
They are not found doing drugs and, all the other vices that we keep talking about all the time. It's time for us to really take a critical look at the boy child and do something for them. So we don't leave one gender behind. It's the SDGs. We leave no one behind. Everyone must be taken along, must be carried along, on this journey of development.
Yeah.
If not, we'll still go round this
again.
circle. And it starts from the home, just as Ifenla said. It begins from the home. How are we raising the boy child? What are we telling them? Are we making them see that their sisters are, the ones who do all the cleaning and you can sit down and go and play football? Or go and play with your friends. What are we doing with the boys in the house?
I will stop both of you here.
Okay.
At this very, very stimulating juncture. And when we come back next week, we are going to look more concretely. We've spent quite a bit of very useful time discussing the issues that exist, the problems, male and female, young children, influence, and so on. But we will zero down and focus a bit more on what is the way forward. What are we suggesting to everybody that we actually tangibly do to make things better? Stay with us. We'll see you next week.